welcome back to the Autry Benton Show. Today is a true pleasure for me. I get to sit down with a fellow Marine, a fellow brother in Christ, and my pastor, Pastor Brandon Blair. Thank you for joining me today, Pastor.
Thank you, Autry. Honor to be here.
Man, this is going to be a special one for me in so many ways, buddy. But I just want to say before we get started, I love you. You know I love you. You mean so much to me in so many ways for, what you've done for our country, what you do for the kingdom, and what you mean to me personally. So this is a true honor for me.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you inviting me on. Let's get into talk.
Yeah. I think that a lot of times in life, people know us by just one part of us. And I think a lot of people in Autry County know you for being the pastor of Langston Baptist Church, but there's a lot of your life I don't think people really know, and I'm really excited for let them see Brandon Blair's whole life, if we can do that,
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So let's start right from the beginning. Where'd you grow up?
Well, that's kind of a trick question. My dad's a pastor, pastored my whole life, so living in the pastor home, being a PK, you kind of move around a little bit. But I spent most of my life in North Carolina. My dad pastored the same church for over 35 years. But we lived in Autry County too. I went to Old Autry Elementary, which is now Radu's. I went to school there. But spent most of my life in North Carolina.
What city was that, Pastor?
Lillington, North Carolina, right outside of Fuquay and between Fayetteville and Raleigh, in that area.
I got you. And just being familiar with your story, you spent a lot of your summers in Autry, though, correct? That's with your grandparents?
Yeah, I lived in Conway every summer with my grandparents. We'd split half the summer with one of my grandparents, half the summer with the other. So we stayed in Conway for the summers.
So tell me a little bit about your grandparents. I know they're really special to you.
Yeah, so my great-grandparents lived on Highway 19. They farmed there. There's still a house there that's over 100 years old. My great-grandfather lived and farmed there, and so we would spend time there. My grandmother took over that house. My great-grandmother passed away. Now my parents are living in that house on that property. So then my other family, my other grandparents, they live on the other side of Conway, out towards Dongola Highway, in that area. And my grandfather was a fisherman. He fished right there in the little PD and the big PD, and he would catch fish and sell it to the little markets here in Conway and Autry County.
Yeah. You got any stories from childhood, summer times, Autry County, a little bit, anything you want to share with them?
Man, we grew up at the greatest time and the greatest era, I feel like, where we got to explore and run around and just be kids without all the dangers and stuff. I wish my kids had that opportunity, but I love growing up in Conway. I remember all the baseball shops downtown and just being able to, grow up in such a wonderful city, family-oriented city. I'll never forget, my grandma would let us drive on the dirt roads beside her house all day long. She would just say, "Don't run it out of gas." And so we lived in a time when we were just kids driving a vehicle down the road. You can't do that anymore. But what a time it was to be raised in that era.
Great time. And I think you have a very unique childhood, but then you'd go back to North Carolina where your mom and dad was, correct? So tell me about your part of growing up there, what that was like.
We had a great church family there who loved us, kind of made us a part of their own, treated us like their children. And so wonderful church there called Piney Grove Chapel Baptist Church. My dad pastored there for a long time. When he retired from the senior pastor, he retired from there. But just loved that area. Played a lot of sports growing up, and was raised in church my whole life, and taught to love God and love His Word from a small child.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your mom and dad and like how they came to the Lord. I know your dad's got a powerful testimony.
So my parents were childhood sweethearts right here in Autry County, and both their families from Autry County and Conway area. So that's why I tell everybody, don't talk bad about me in Conway, because I'm kin to almost everybody in Conway. But my parents, I got two wonderful parents. My dad wasn't raised in church, wasn't raised in what you would call a Christian home. My dad's dad was an abusive alcoholic, walked out of his life when he was just a small child, and he didn't have that fatherly influence. But he got invited to church by one of his best friends, and he kept bugging him, kept inviting him to church, and my dad finally just got frustrated and said, if you never invite me to church again, I'll go. My dad went, and that night he got saved, and God changed his life, and he determined in his heart that he was going to raise his kids in a Christian home.
Wow, the power of an invitation.
Power of an invitation. You never know what one invitation may do will not only change that person's life, but the life of a family.
Yeah. Pastor B, we talk about it a lot here. Church is important, but church is not a relationship with God, right? I mean, you just said it, but he made a decision for Christ that night, right?
Yeah, so it totally changed his life, and he began to live his life for Christ. You bring up a good point. Just being a church member or a church attender is really different from having a relationship with Jesus Christ, because I was raised in a wonderful home. Both my parents are godly parents. They taught me about Jesus, taught me to love Jesus. I had a great church home, church family, yet still, Autry, I did not live the life that I should have lived at a young age. I lived for the world. I went down the wrong roads and the wrong path. I'm very hard-headed. I guess you'd say bullheaded. And I want to make my own decisions, and I want to figure it out my own way. So I didn't follow Christ just because my parents did. I didn't make a decision because I was raised in church or I was raised that way. There came a point in my life where I had to figure it out on my own, to come to Christ and have that relationship. So just going to church ain't going to do it for you.
Yeah.
While it will certainly point you in the right direction, you're going to have to come to a point in your life where you make a decision to follow Christ.
Yeah. I have this thought a lot. We live in the Bible Belt, and I think a lot of times you ask people in Autry County, their initial answer is I go to church. That's not good enough, is it, Pastor?
Most people, you ask them if they're a Christian, they're going to say yes.
Yeah.
And what I've come to find out is that doesn't hold any weight, because there's a lot of people that claim Christianity, but they don't live for Christ. They don't have a relationship with Him. And that's what matters at the end of the day. That's what really changes your life here and the hereafter for eternity.
Mm-hmm. Once you get first step done, then church makes a whole nother meaning, right?
Yeah, but then you got a church family.
Church family.
And then you got a place to grow in God and walk with Christ with other fellow believers. And so, yeah, that makes all the difference in the world. Church takes on a whole different dynamic. No longer is it a building, it becomes a body that you're a part of.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Good deal. So tell me a little about your mom.
Yeah, so my mom is a godly mom. She worked from home most of her life, raised us up being a homemaker and supporting my dad in ministry. Mm-hmm. And I have a fabulous mom. She was always there for us growing up and took care of us.
Yeah, so a preacher's kid. So take me to your mindset, like, what did you think early on? I mean, you're a pastor now, but take me to childhood, Pastor Brandon, like what you thought of all that world, you know?
Yeah, so
you can be honest with us.
Yeah. So the funny part about it is when I was growing up, I would have countless people say, you're going to be a preacher just like your daddy. And I would say, no, I'm not. I remember specifically a lady telling me one time, said, you're going to be a preacher one day. And I said, I will not be a preacher. I can tell you that. That's one thing I will not do. You see behind the scenes as a preacher's kid, the difficulties and the hardships of being a pastor, the burdens that they carry, the late nights, the early mornings, and, you know, watching what my dad did, you know, in life. And he was a wonderful pastor. I just never saw myself in that role. Mm-hmm. My brother, on the other hand, who is 3 years older than me, grew up wanting to be a pastor. And I grew up wanting to be a police officer. Well, my brother is a police officer and I'm a pastor. I say God always has a sense of humor.
For sure, for sure. And I think certainly you're a pastor now, but you got seen behind the veil early, you know, the tough side of being in the pastor's home, right? I mean, they had to be challenging at times just to see that side of it, you know. It
really is. I don't think most people realize the burden that pastors carry on their shoulders, and the expectations that people put on them. And now in the world that we have today, there's so much access to pastors, and when people have needs, they reach out. And with the access now through social media, you know, I can send a pastor a message through Messenger or through Instagram or through email. There's so much access, and if a pastor doesn't respond immediately, you know, there's a lot of pressure on a pastor to be there for everyone. And while they try their best, they have the same amount of hours in a day as other with family and life that they have, in ministry that they have. And so it's a lot of weight to carry to be a pastor. You most definitely have to know that it's a calling and not a career.
Yeah. But I've always said it this way: the kindest people in the world is church folk, or some of the meanest people is church folk. You know,
it can be challenging.
Yeah.
You know, but you got to realize every church person is not saved.
Amen.
And
sure.
And there's others that don't act saved.
Absolutely.
And there's some that just have bad days.
Amen.
You know. But
you said it the best.
Yeah, but I have a wonderful church.
Yeah.
And I got a wonderful church family, and we make jokes about church and church people all the time, but
we are the church.
Yeah, we are. It's like looking in the mirror. But
our family.
I have a wonderful church family that supports me, prays for me, who's there for me, and I couldn't do it without them.
That's great. Well, good deal. So, graduating high school, what did Brandon want to do?
Yeah, so I thought I was going to go into law enforcement. I was taking college classes, and when I was in high school in criminal justice, I really wanted to be an FBI agent. That's what I wanted to be. I wanted to do undercover narcotics, and I had a passion for that. And I really thought that's what I was going to do, is I was going to work my way up to the FBI. Mm-hmm. So that's my mindset in high school and graduating high school, what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. I got you. Good deal. So graduated, was that your next step, or what?
That was my next step. That's what I wanted to do, but things changed.
So what happened? Tell us what changed.
9/11 happened. We all know what happened on that September day when America was attacked and those Twin Towers came tumbling down. I remember the day that I was watching it on television, and I called my mom and I said, "Mom, I'm dropping out of school. I'm joining the Marine Corps and I'm going to war." And my mom said whatever every other mom would say: get back to class.
Right. Hey, press pause, go back a little bit. So you graduated, how long were you in school before 9/11 happened?
I just started.
Just started.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you remember where you were on a school campus when you heard about it?
Yeah, I was in Wake Forest, so I was on my college campus there. I was actually watching it in the Commons area with other students there on one of those box screen TVs.
You know, I think that's one of those moments, any American, we know where we're at, but it struck you that hard. You called your mama instantly.
Yes, just like every American on that day, it broke my heart to see so many innocent people perish. It made me mad, it made me angry, it made me sad. All the emotions that everybody that remembers that day had inside of them. You know, I think every military man was signing back up to go back in. Every man that was in age had a desire to go in. And from that moment on, that's all I could think about. Like, I wanted to protect our country and protect families like that would never happen again.
So what was your mother's response to your call?
Oh, she said no. And I don't really think, honestly, Autry, that she thought I was serious. I don't think she really recognized that that's really what I wanted to do, and that's what had determined that I was going to do. But my parents fully supported me when they realized that I was going to join the Marine Corps. They always supported me in that effort.
So how did it get, what was the next steps?
Yeah, so I went to a recruiter and went sign up, and at that time there were so many people signing up, and I wanted to go in the infantry. They were only taking guys that were coming back in that had already went through boot camp. They were taking those guys first. And so, man, there was a long line to kind of get in at that time. It was actually a very patriotic time in our history where people were red, white, and blue, you know, champion our country. No matter which side of the political aisle that you were on, we were Americans.
Amen.
And we need to get back to that. And I hope it doesn't take tragedies for that to take place. We should just realize from tragedies, from our history, that we're stronger together than we are apart.
Amen. Amen. So how long did it take you before you got to boot camp?
It took me a good year process before I got in, got standing on those yellow footprints and started my journey in the Marine Corps.
Tell me about boot camp.
Yeah, so I'll never forget stepping on those yellow footprints and that drill instructor getting in my face, and I realized really quickly I'd made a bad decision. And be honest, Autry, I'd never thought about the military. Until 9/11, you know, people said, why you choose the Marine Corps? I chose them for two reasons. One, they were first to fight. Two, they had the best uniforms.
That's a good reason.
The two best reasons.
And you made the right decision.
Why'd you choose the Marine Corps?
They're the best.
They're the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the best. And you know, in you telling your story, I got out a year before 9/11, and the world just changed, Pastor B. It didn't. I mean, it was overnight the world changed. And I remember going through the same emotions. I had just gotten out, but I had a brand new baby, you know, and they were lining up. And I just, honestly, I feel guilt that I didn't do my part a lot of times, you know, for your generation that came in and fought behind us. So anyway, it's your story.
You did do your part, though.
Well,
you signed up and you served our country honorably. So thank you for your service.
Well, but it was just a different time. I mean, overnight, we went to war.
Yeah.
You know, we really did. So boot camp, you got a good boot camp story for us?
Oh, man. So many different boot camp stories. They intend on breaking you down to build you up, and I am so, again, I'm hard-headed. Like, it's going to take a lot to break me, and I'll never forget the day that they did. They broke me. But after that, they start building you up. I was washing my hands in the bathroom, and they count down for everything. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
But they don't count down correctly. They'll count down from 20 and skip to 10, you know. And so that's what the drill instructor did.
Yeah.
He went from 10 to 0, and when he says done, you say done, sir, done, and you better be standing at attention. And I just kind of was gazed off, not listening, not paying attention, and he got to 0, and I was still washing my hands. And that was a bad day. But that bad day, it broke me, but it also made me, because after they broke you, they started building you up. Once they get you to rock bottom, that gives you a foundation to work up from. And so when you're in the fight, when you're on the front lines, you've been to rock bottom before, you've been broken, and you realize that it didn't have to finish you.
Yeah.
That it just made you stronger.
Yeah. Discipline, instant and willing obedience to all orders. I mean, instantly. I mean, they drill it in us, you know. I mean, it's a part of us. And unless you've been there, you just don't know.
You just don't know.
Yeah. Wow. So, but I can only just imagine being in boot camp, and it was peacetime when I was there, as we done spoke about, but y'all knew y'all were going to war, Pastor B. I mean, did y'all talk about it at that point? Did they mention it, or?
Yeah, I deployed twice to the Middle East, and they always told you, you know, the possibilities. A matter of fact, before we shipped out, they took us to California to do a workup, get you acclimated to the weather. In California, they have out the Mojave Desert. They have a city that's built just like Iraq, and they have Iraqis that live in it, and the smells, the sights, the sounds. I mean, they make it so real. And you do operations, and you get certified to be ready as a unit. And when we were over there, they brought us into a auditorium, and they told us, we can't tell you where you're going, but you're going to be in some of the fiercest fighting, and all of you not going to make it back home. And I'll be honest with you, when they said that, it never registered to me. We had some guys who were writing their last will and testament, and I'd tell those guys, don't do that, you're going to be fine. And I guess in my mind, I thought, yeah, I know things are going to happen. People's going to get hurt. People's going to get killed. But I said nothing will ever happen to me.
Yeah. Wow. Good deal. So how long, where'd you deploy to first?
Yeah, I did a MU.
Okay.
And we went over with the Navy. That was my first deployment. And we kind of went all over. While I was there, I trained with the Jordanian soldiers. We were attacked in Jordan. We were left there for a month by the Navy. We got off ship. Al-Qaeda shot rockets at us, and the Navy needed to protect their ship, so they went out to sea and left us there.
So y'all were in Jordan?
Yeah, in Jordan.
Wow.
We were there to train the Jordanian army. They're very defensive.
Yeah.
Marines are offensive, and so they taught us some things on the defensive side.
Yeah.
If they ever get attacked, they just go right to the center and just defend.
Yeah.
We're on the offensive. We do the complete opposite. So we learned a lot from them. They learned from us. We trained with them while we were there. That was the whole reason for us going to Jordan. But when we got attacked, the Navy left us there. And so we ate off of the Jordanian people that were there. We didn't have no food.
Yeah.
And we all got sick. It was the worst time ever on that. We trained with Israel. We did some with Israeli Marines. We went to Israel, Qatar, Bahrain.
You did med float? Was it med float?
And then we went to Kuwait and did some operations from Kuwait into Iraq.
Did y'all do some fighting there?
There was not a lot of fighting on my first deployment.
Gotcha.
We were coming in from the southern part, just right across the border.
Right.
And there was a little bit, but not much.
Yeah. Were y'all hearing much information back, what the forces were doing, what the Marines were doing, or what was expected, or y'all were just mission focused what y'all were doing?
Yeah. We were just kind of focused.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have television and stuff when you're over there, so you really just know what's going on at the time, kind of in real time.
Yeah, I got you. Good deal. So did you come back and get some R&R?
Came back, and 6 months later, deployed again.
Good deal.
And the second time, we flew right into Kuwait, then into Iraq, and went to Fallujah.
Well, if you're a Marine, you've been around Marines, you hear the word Fallujah, your antennas go up. I mean, Fallujah was a bad place, wasn't it, Pastor B?
Especially in 2006 when I was there.
Yeah. Fallujah, that I think of all the tough battles that Marines list, Fallujah's on that list now.
Yeah, Fallujah, Ramadi, that was a hot area, especially during that time.
Yeah.
Some of the fiercest fighting was going on then.
Yeah. You want to take us there by that deployment, kind of how it unfolded?
Yeah. I'll never forget when I got on the bus to go over. All the Marines were lined up to get on the bus, and I noticed there was an old man leaning against the front wheel well of that bus, had a cane and was kind of just leaned up there, and he was handing the Marines something, everyone that's got on the bus. I was kind of curious what that was, and when I got up there, he handed me one, and it was a little Gideon Testament. I thought that was pretty cool. I thought it was cool for two reasons. One, it matched me. It matched my camis. The second reason I thought it was cool is because it fit perfectly in my left breast pocket. And so I took that little Bible and I put it in my left breast pocket, knowing that I wouldn't have time to read it, but I thought, hey, if it can bring me any kind of luck, I'll take all that I can get. Because I was in a mobile assault platoon. What that means is we operated off base all the time. We were on the front lines. We were outside the wire at all times. We didn't operate from base like most people do. They will go out on a mission, they'll come back to base. We were our own base. We lived outside the wire. They would airdrop us food. I had a chaplain come visit one time while we were out, and his vehicle got hit by a roadside bomb and never saw any chaplains
come
again.
back.
No. So it was very dangerous. We fought every day. If we didn't fight on a day, it's because there was going to be a coordinated attack on the next day. A mobile assault platoon is a Marine group that can specialize in whatever, down planes, high value targets. And so we had a Humvee group of everyone, machine gunners, mortarmen, just infantrymen, snipers, all together in one group. And we were always forward. So if something ever happened where they needed something outside the wire, they didn't have to wait for somebody to get from base off base. We just protected ourselves and we lived outside the wire.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. So, like, once you get there, get geared up, how long, I know these are weird questions, but how long did it take to get prepared to do that before you knew, all right, we're getting ready to step out, as your words, go outside the wire and do that? Like, did you have a long time to build up for that and kind of get familiar with what was around you, intel or?
No, not in country. You prepare before you go.
Okay.
With that workup, you kind of prepare for that. But once you get there, it's game time.
It's time to go to work.
Yeah, it's time to go to work.
Yeah. What was your mindset right then once you got there, and did you know what you were about to experience?
Oh yeah. I mean, day one. I mean, that first night that I was there, we had some recon guys that got hit by a grenade. We had to go in and extract them and get them to medical attention to a hospital. I mean, the very first night. So I mean, it was hot and heavy from the get-go.
Yeah. Man, what was that like? It had to just be terrible to really be real.
For me, I think it's, this is what you train for. You know, there's a lot of Marines that they went through all the training. They went through boot camp. They went through infantry school. They went through all those kind of things, and they never got to use what they were trained for. I do think there is some sense inside of you like, okay, I was trained for this. This is what I'm prepared for. And, whether it's calling in a 9-line to get a helo in to help get somebody safety, like you were trained to do that. You did it repetitious over and over again, but now you're really doing it. You're really calling in support. You're really calling in air support. And I think just your training, the level of training that the Marines get is on the highest level. That's why when someone asks me what branch of service would you go in, your opinion, it's not based on which branch of service you think is cool. It's what branch of service you think is going to prepare you for the job you're going to do. If I'm going to go in to be in the infantry, I'm going to be fighting on the ground, man, I want to be trained by the best. I would encourage anyone that wants to do that to be trained by the Marines.
I got you. Pastor B, we're out of time real quick, so everybody's going to have to come back tomorrow to hear the rest of the story.
All right.
Folks, we're out of time. We're sitting down with a war hero. I just encourage you to come back tomorrow and let's hear the rest of Pastor Brandon Blair's story. Thank you for joining us today.